Hi, I'm Michael, and this is Tarot by the Tree. We've just finished working our way through the 22 cards of the Major Arcana. That's a very specialized set of individual numbered cards that aren't suited. Each card is an individual. There's 22 of them. In a sense, beneath them, there's almost our regular playing deck of cards. Instead of jacks in our set, the tarot deck has pages and knights. The pages are of the people and report to the queen. The knights are on a separate level and enforce the wishes of the king. Today we're looking at the Ace of Wands. I'll often refer to it as the Ace of Staffs because the term wands can sometimes have connotations of magic and spells, and that's not at all what this card is about. This card is a very personal, a very practical card. When we talk about the Major Arcana cards that we've just gone through in a reading, I always treat them like this is something that is more powerful than you are, and your best bet is to find a way to cope with it or avoid it, because you're not going to defeat it in that sense. The Minor Arcana are forces that will affect and influence you, but they are not forces that are beyond your power. The Minor Arcana are cards that can happen. The Major Arcana are cards that will happen. The Ace of Staffs, the Ace of Wands, it means enterprise. More specifically, perhaps it means your plans. This is not a card of frivolous plans. This is not, if you get this card, it does not suggest that anything that enters your mind is likely to become successful. It doesn't mean that. This is a card that if you have some plans that have been brewing in your mind for some time, this is a card that suggests now is the time to act on them. I have a set of symbols in my own personal tarot deck. There's a cup made out of brass and a replica of the first coin made out of brass. There's a golden sword, and there's a staff. And the staff is not just a male sign any more than swords are not a male sign. And this particular one was made out of a branch from the female shelter at a Blue Skies concert. The idea is not to make these male because of their shape. And an old song from Melanie mentioned it. It's a phallic symbol if it's longer than it's wide, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. Staffs and swords are not phallic symbols. They respond to different definitions than that. In the card, we have a hand emerging from a cloud. Now the four elements on earth, water, air, and fire, the wands or the staffs are the element of fire, which may seem kind of surprising at first because you think, well, it takes fire to make a sword, but it doesn't really take fire to make a staff. But that's what it is. Swords are the sign of air. And I don't think this will really influence us very much in our reading, since those symbolic representations of Malkuth or earth don't really pertain to our thinking anymore. But this is a sign of fire. And it's to give them the idea, just as the leaves budding from this branch, that this is a thing of action. This is a thing of meaning, and it's alive. As the hand emerges from the clouds, we get the idea of divine influence, or you have the backing of the momentum of the forces in the universe right now. There's a convergence of forces that will be favorable to your plans. Aces refer to the top card of the Tree of Life. It's the number one card. And it's represented, as we've gone through the two trees before, Keter is represented by two cards. The first is the magician. He's got all the elements on his table. The sign of infinity over his head, and he channels power from above to below. The other side, Keter. This is terrible. Oh, it says end stream again, B, and it has for some time. Oh, no, maybe it's fine. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties, and I'm not sure if we're actually recording at this moment.
Shane, you want to let us know?
Well, I'll carry on a bit on the optimistic chance that we are. The other side of the magician, who teaches us what Keter is, the very top of the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. The other side of the magician is the hangman, the glow of wisdom about his head, that he has been ridiculed. He's been hung upside down as an example to others. These are the two sides of the aces. The aces are in Keter, and Keter is defined by the magician and the hangman. Those are the two sides of what can happen. Ace of Wands, Ace of Staves, the beginning of your plans. And these can grow. You're in the place of Keter. These can grow to be great powers, or they can evolve and their greatness won't be recognized. Those are the two sides of it. In a reading, I would say something like, there are trends and tendencies right now that are favorable to the materialization and development of your plans. So if you get the Ace of Staves, the Ace of Wands, it's saying that what's in your mind, and something that has been in your mind, and again, these are not instant dreams. These are things that have been manifest in your imagination for some time. It suggests that now is the time to take the first steps to making them real. Aces. In the place of Keter, defined by the magician and the hangman. Aces began as a thing of lowest value. It comes from an old French word, as, meaning smallest, a single unit. It is the one on a set of dice. And it is the number one. It's the lowest number. But the other side of ace is that it can have the highest value. We talk of having an ace in the hole. We talk of someone being an ace golfer. Those are the two sides of the ace card. Yes, it's the beginning. It's only the beginning. And yes, it's the lowest value. but it is an indication that this could be the way of the future. This could evolve into something great. Why don't we take a look at some of the questions that we have now?
I'm confused. Is the ace the lowest card or the highest card?
Yeah, the ace is the lowest card. Of course, there's the fool that's numbered 0, but of the pips of the minor arcana, the ace is the lowest card. It's numbered 1. The ace resides in the highest part of the tree, because what we're doing is we're looking at the way the tree was formulated. Later on, we'll be going up the tree from bottom to top, and that's called the Fool's Journeys. But we have traced so far the path of creation from the top to the bottom. The top card, number 1, is Keter, and it's indicated by the 1 cards, which are the aces.
What would it mean to get all 4 aces in a reading?
Yeah, I was wondering what that would be. And I think there could be good news and bad news to it. If you got all 4 aces and we were playing this out in a reading, and these were going to be indicators of your ability or personality, it would suggest that in power, happiness, and your plans and your wealth, everything has the potential to move from ideas to reality right now. The winds are favorable to whatever you want to do. And I suppose that's a good thing. It means you've entered into kind of a charmed atmosphere of a part of your life, and what you do now is going to work. So that's the good news. The bad news is it would make you ask the question, is everything in your life just in your imagination? Power, wealth, happiness? You do just live in a dream world? Because you do wonder if aces come up defining the different aspects of your life. These are all things that are barely manifested yet. So those are the 2 things. It's really favorable for any action, but I would ask how much of your life is evolved into action and how much remains just imagination.
Is the ace of staffs a sort of guarantee that my plans will work out?
That's, I think, one of the mistakes people think. If you get an ace of wands in a reading, they think, oh, this means whatever plans I undertake now, the gods are with me, so to speak. So you run out and you buy $100 worth of lottery tickets. But that's not what it means. What it means is if you have some existing plans, and we hope some existing ability, now would be the time to start moving these things from imagination into reality. You can take the first steps now, and it will probably go well according to this card.
What exactly are plans or enterprise? Are they ideas, dreams, hopes?
Yes, I think all of those things, but they're one step up from all of those things too. Maybe that they need some kind of a word in there, a descriptive word, because this isn't frivolous. This, if you have an idea that you want to learn to fly an airplane, there are certain steps that you'd have to make. There's a concrete aspect needed. So it's not enough just to want. You have to have organized some things in a logical way in your mind so that you are actually ready to take the next step to making your ideas manifest in your world.
Can plans be greedy?
Uh, I don't think any plans can be greedy. Well, who's to say? I suppose if you had plans to go out and rob a bunch of defenseless and innocent people, you could say, well, those are greedy plans. And yeah, okay, so I guess plans can be greedy. For the most part, most of us aren't bad intentioned, and plans are either successful or not successful. And successful plans might be looked at as some people as being greedy, but it all depends on where you've set your sights. And I would think in most cases, the term greedy wouldn't apply to your plans unless you were intentionally uh, removing wealth or something from other people.
What if I don't have any plans, like the Fool?
Now, this is a really interesting question. And I think I did cover it in the major arcana when we talked about the Fool. The Fool is not saying everybody should be like me. Not everybody should just pack up a few meager treasures and set off and walk off a cliff. We just have dead bodies at the base of the cliff. Can you just give me that question?
What if I don't have any plans?
Well, we've talked a little bit about the different states people can live in. And if you're in a state right now where you're content, you're satisfied, and things are being provided for you, I would imagine in that state you might not need plans, and you might not seek anything beyond your present state of comfort. If you don't have any plans, it could be because you're in the throes of your emotions. And we've talked a little bit about the different levels of human. The one would be where you're content and you're receiving everything and you've grown roots, so to speak. The other is you're at the mercy of your emotions. And it just seems you're forever having to deal with the consequences of your joy and your anger and perhaps the inappropriate expression of these things.
The Ace of Staffs seems to magically appear. Some people call staffs wands. Is the Ace of Staff also about casting spells on people?
No, absolutely not. And that's why I shy away from the word wands. You do see that the hand does have a glow about it, but I did mention the divine or the universal momentum that you've tapped into with this card. Tarot by the Tree in no way discusses anything to do with spells or incantations or any of that thing. We talk about the historical connection to Kabbalah, to the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. And we talk about the informed sport of fortune telling and how to do it through a complete knowledge of the tarot cards.
What if I have so many plans and ideas that I don't know which one to pick?
That's it makes me think of the card the Magician, where everything is on the table, everything imaginable, but it's all in held just the other side of reality. It's not a tangible thing right now. And if you have so many ideas that you don't know what to pick, I would just suggest don't act on any of them now, because there's a possibility that none of these ideas is really good and has your full backing and your full understanding and support and enthusiasm. Uh, it's nice to have a lot of ideas. There certainly has to be some way of separating fanciful ideas from practical ideas.
Just to say that if you wanted to write a question in the chat, you can, because I can see it now. And so feel free to add any questions in the chat. Why are the staffs budding with leaves?
I think it's to show that a couple of things, that this is the beginning of life. This may look like a stick, but if you planted it in the ground, it would grow roots, branches, leaves, maybe flowers and fruit. This is a living and a practical thing. And practicality is a big part of this suit. It is, I always want to separate it from the idea of a magical wand. This is a card that talks about ideas, and the aces talk about making them more than ideas, making these ideas that are actually thriving and developing in reality.
I noticed the hand coming out of clouds. Did you elaborate on that?
The hand coming out of the clouds will be on all the aces. Out of the clouds gives it that mystic symbolism coming from the other realm, the other side of the veil. And in this case, it would be the supernal triad, the upper part of the tree of life. The hand glows as this is, you might say, divinely inspired. If you didn't want to be religious about it, you could just say that the way I look at it is that the forces in the universe right now have converged, and it will allow you to have some momentum in the realm of plans right now.
Why do staffs represent the element of fire?
That's a good question, because you would think that would be the destruction of the staff, unlike the sword, because it would be the birth of the sword. It represents fire because it's, as I said, it's a living thing. Not that fire is alive, but it has a lot of the appearances of life, warmth and movement and things like that. The idea of fire in wands could be akin to energy or an electrical charge, warmth, heat, vitality. That's what I think it means. This is a card about building, whereas something like swords is just the opposite.
Any final thoughts?
If this card appears, it's the Ace of Wands, which is the beginning of staffs, which mean the beginning of your plans. And I think, just very briefly, what it means is the time is right for you to take what's in your mind and make it real. And I think that's the message of this card. That's the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Staffs. Tomorrow we'll move on to the Two of Staffs. Bye for now.